Hello, friends. Welcome to Pod Mavericks' Group Therapy. I'm Kirk Henderson, editor-in-chief of MavsMoneyball.com. Thank you so much for joining me on our second live show of the evening. This one where I want you to participate. For those of you who are in the chat, do me a favor. If you want to join, you click that pinned post in the podcast, or if you need me to send it and post it again, I am happy to share the link with you. You will enter a waiting room where I will then call on you and we will talk a little bit about this game. The Dallas Mavericks just lost 115 to 112. I'm seeing a lot of really odd takes on the internet that the Mavericks are the first team to never or to try to miss the playoffs, even though this isn't the playoffs, it's the play-in. I feel crazy. Someone come up on stage and tell me why I'm drunk. The Bulls also tried to lose this game because everybody wants better draft positioning for the lottery. The line, it's just a frustrating situation. All right, I'm going to post the chat or the link in the chat again because some people are unable to see it. I think it's at the top of my stream. I can't actually switch between both, otherwise I'm going to be being bombarded with audio. But I'm gonna go ahead and check it real quick. Let's see here. Yeah, it's pinned at the top of the chat if you're able to click it. But there it is. I would prefer video too if you're able to. Everybody who is hanging out. Okay, coming up first, I got one guy, only one. Last time we had a bunch, but hey, we'll see if we can get more folks in here. All right, Chris, what's happening, my guy?
Hey, Kirk. Sorry if my lighting's not that great. I'm in Fort Worth in the hotel after the game, so
it's ominous. It's great. What's happening?
I bought tickets yesterday before that Thunder game. I was like, okay, the Mavs are going for it. I want to be there and root them on, and then the Thunder win, right? Okay, so
right.
And I didn't even find out about all this Kyrie stuff or about the whole team not playing until like after lunch today, and I'm already in Dallas. I'm like, I already got the tickets. They're not refundable. I'm like, okay. So that does suck. You seen that movie Celtic Pride?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, Dan Aykroyd is like, ask his friend. He's like, I don't know what to do. Do I root for the Celtics or root for the Jazz? They're hardcore Celtics fans, and then they have to root for the Jazz or they're going to go to jail because they kidnapped the star of the Utah Jazz. That's how I felt tonight. I'm like, and I'm wearing a Mavs jersey, and then anytime the Bulls are making a shot, I'm like, yes, just the opposite. It sucked. This is the first time I ever went to a Mavs game where I had to like root against them, because like you said, if we would have won tonight, we would have won Sunday. It doesn't matter because the Thunder were going to win with Memphis.
Memphis is going to sit everybody.
Yeah, and I was looking at the Memphis game tonight against the Bucks, and they kicked. Every scenario was like just against us. Like the Bucks sat out their entire starting lineup, so that was an easy win for the Grizzlies. So yeah, this sucks. But at the end of the day, shout out to Theo Pinson. I think he might be the Mavs MVP right now. Oh my God, he's a truly horrible player. I mean, a couple of his missed threes, like one of them like completely bricked off the backboard. One was an air ball. I mean, man, truly horrible player. But some of those guys were like, I'm like, what are we? I mean, I know that they're trying to win. They're trying to like fight to even be in the NBA. I get it. Oh, thank God. We're not even guaranteed to still get that top 10 pick, but the odds are much better right now.
That's right.
The Bulls played the Pistons Sunday, and let's roll out what we had, today against the Spurs. I mean, so obviously Utah's on a 4-game losing streak, so we're definitely not getting like the 9th best overall. It's like the best we'll get. I mean, the best we could possibly get is the top 4, right? But at least we'll get the top 10, the 10th overall pick. I think it's like a 65% chance of getting that. And 3.5%, 1 through 4.
Yeah, we'll have something up. I'm going to make one of my staff members write something about all the odds.
I've been just looking up Tankathon obsessively the last week. It's so crazy because before this week, I didn't even know what Tankathon was. Like,
well, now you're upset. Now you're going to be obsessed with it. It's an upsetting place.
I like that at the end of After Dark, you on one of the episodes, you clicked it on the second try. You got the simulation where
we're going to do that again tonight. We're going to do that every time until the draft.
Oh man, but yeah, this was an awkward, weirdly weird game. Like just to go to, and mentally, you just have to like you're not rooting against them to lose, but you're just rooting for that draft pick. And I don't even know. I don't keep up with college basketball. I don't even know who's good. Like I don't. I'm assuming that they're going to go for a wing. You think, or I mean, they could trade down and get some win now players. But I mean, what would you think? What would be the best right now if you were going to draft number 10? What in your opinion, what would be the best for player in this draft that we can get?
I want players, but what I think will happen is the Mavs will do their best to move on draft night for like more experienced guys because they're in fully win now mode. That's my opinion.
Like meaning like players that are already in the NBA right now.
Yes, right now.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think we could probably get 2 players, 3 players? I mean,
no idea. Because you might not be able to do anything is the other thing. One of my buddies who does this for a living, it's like, well, teams will go into draft night thinking they can make a move, and then they just can't, so they have to draft somebody with the best pick available, and that player probably isn't going to be ready to play. Because most guys they're rookies for a reason. I'm still of the opinion that I think rookies playing with Luca and Kyrie at a pretty good floor, but it would have to be like there's a guy named Taylor Hendricks. A lot of the chat likes. Like I don't think you can go get a big. Bigs are usually just too raw. I want wing defense, but that's just me. I mean, we have here's the thing. The draft lottery is May 19th, which is roughly 16th, roughly 5 weeks from now. We have 5 weeks to be really upset.
Yeah.
Odds.
But great. If we would have won this game, we'd been like even the more laughing stock of the NBA than what we were, before tonight.
Yeah.
Just because you look like you're trying to lose and then you end up winning. Like, oh my God. But yeah, honestly, I felt like, because I already watched the After Dark show. Josh Bowe was saying just all this stuff is just lifted off. You just feel like relieved, like it's just over now. You're not stressed or worried about it anymore. And yeah, the whole game, I felt like Tony from Rocky IV is like throwing the damn towel, just like.
But players don't tank, and it was fun to watch guys try hard, and I like that. So
it could have gone either way, man. What if McKinley Wright would have hit that 3 at the end and we go into overtime?
I was writing. I would have been upset, but mainly just because I had written 700 words already, and I hate rewriting stuff.
But let's just got one more game, see how it goes, and I just hope we get a good draft pick or just something in the draft. So,
Chris, thanks for coming on. Drive safe tomorrow.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Coming up next, a guy who is going to tell us he was right last year and that we all owe him an apology. His name is Akiva Tesler. He is one of our super fans and one of my favorite people. Akiva, my guy, good to see your face again.
Same here, Kirk. It's great to see you. By the way, you look great. What's the secret? Walking the dog or what?
Really good lighting and something about like now this is for I work from home, so like nothing like a live stream to force daily grooming.
No, you look great. It's very good to see you. Listen, I think like the last 3 hours I've been in the twilight zone. I don't understand this. This is insane. This is crazy. People are okay with this. I don't get it. Usually when teams tank, they tank from get from the 7th or 8th worst record in the league to try and maneuver themselves to the top 3 pick. That's when teams tank. Teams don't tank when they still have a shot to make the playoffs with a top 3 player in the league, along with Jokic and LeBron. There's my humble opinion. And with even though he's poisoned the last 6 years for every team he's been on, Kyrie Irving, everybody agrees he's very talented.
Sure.
Teams don't tank to give up a chance to get into the playoffs for a possible top 10 pick, which, by the way, Frank Ntilikina was a top 10 pick, okay? And do you have any faith that this Mavericks bunch of assholes, excuse my French, can pick the right player at number 8 or number 7, number 6? I got news for you also. Even if they somehow became extremely lucky and somehow got Victor Wembanyama, which we know they will not, the basketball gods, you know what they're going to do? The first game...
Break his leg
on his anterior cruciate ACL, and he'll never play again. That's what the basketball gods are going to do. You don't do what they did.
That's right.
And you know what? I lost all respect for Luca. I told my son-in-law, Josh, if I pay for another Dallas game, let alone to travel to Dallas to watch them play again, shoot me in the head, please. I'm ashamed of Luca, too. if Luca had any heart and balls as a winner, he would say to Cuban and to that irrelevant Nico Harrison and to dumbass kid, if I don't play the entire game, I don't care if those other guys don't matter. None of them matter. Even I would rather have Kyrie even sit on the bench.
Mhm.
But if you don't play me the entire game, I'm never playing another game for this franchise again. How dare he show his face again?
So a couple of things to respond to. First, I hope everybody knows this is why we missed Akiva. Second of all, the starting backwards with the Luca sitting stuff. This would have been a lot easier to deal with had the Mavericks and Luca not opted to sit Luca for 8 games on the other end of back-to-backs, of which they lost every single one.
That too.
That part bothers me in hindsight much more than this, because 5 wins or 4 wins, we're not talking about this. So one of the things, and then like the last element of this has been, so I'm not sure if you've seen Mark Cuban's comments from before the Kings game. Basically, I'm not sure if the fan base understands this yet, but they're going to. We are at DEFCON 1. And for those of you who don't know what the DEFCON rating is, it's basically a fear of nuclear war. Okay. Luca, because they were at the opportunity to lose their draft pick, and also because they were only going to make the play in. And so they would only make the play in if the Thunder lost on Sunday, which I don't think is possible because Memphis is going to be sitting. So they would finish outside the top 10 in the lottery odds. That was bad on its own, because that means unless they moved up in top 4, they would send it to the Knicks. So if you do that, you would enter the offseason with no draft picks and no cap space and no real ability to improve the team whatsoever. So what you would then have to do is pray for Luca's mercy. And I don't think he's going to, and at that point, all the things I've griped about in here for going on 4 years were coming to a head at once. Not even I thought it was going to happen like this, because I thought they'd probably be 5 to 6 games better. And so that makes all this very difficult to deal with, because what they're hoping for now is a honest to goodness Hail Mary. They're hoping for a top 4 jump, and they're hoping it will be a guy that they can then either trade off of or do something to improve the team rapidly, because they just have no means of improvement. And that's sort of where they are. Like, it is that bleak, really.
Give me another team that ever tanked like this from a playoff spot to a.
But it's not playoff, because what happens is if they go, they would have to win 2 straight road games. They've won 2 straight road games twice all season, and it was usually against bad teams. So I understand why, from a competitive standpoint, this drives everyone nuts. But if they would have ended up, they were this close to no man's land, because if they go play the first play-in game and it's against the Wolves and the Wolves beat them, what would we do? We would all just say, okay, good time. Try next season. That's what's so difficult about this.
Well, listen, first of all, as you said, I called in and I said kids should be fired after they made the
last year. That's right.
After they made the Western Conference Finals, because I'm not a front runner. When I see somebody that stinks, I say it.
Right.
And it's never going to change. They did that in spite of Jason Kidd. And they could have done still great things in spite of Jason Kidd. The guy, again, just like Carlisle in the last 2 playoff games against the Clippers, all of a sudden decided to put Boban into the starting lineup. All of a sudden, he decides to play Wood. What's his first name?
Christian Wood, yeah.
Christian Wood and JaVale McGee. I know you hate JaVale McGee, but to tell me he's not better than those 2 Bobsey twins that Kid was in love with, Kleber and Powell, who don't belong on an NBA floor. They don't belong for 1 minute on an NBA floor. And if you played Wood and McGee, yes, they're not great, but they're much better than those 2 clowns.
I don't know. I think it's different kinds of awful.
No. Listen, and let me tell you. So I'm not a front runner. I called on for Kidd to be fired even when they won the Western Conference Finals.
Sure.
And by the way, this guy has the nerve to say nobody's dying. If nobody's dying, it's not important. Basketball games are not important. You know what? Give back the $8 million you made for pretending to be a basketball coach this year. Why should you be paid $8 million?
I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if he does. Like, I'm not sure how they can bring him back, but I also didn't know how they could hire him.
Cuban said he will bring him back. He said that a couple of days ago. Or yesterday. He said he'll bring him back. He said it's not on kid.
I just still have a hard time getting there. That's all.
No, I wouldn't bet.
You're right, but I don't think you can do it with 3 games left. Like Cuban went out against before the Kings game and basically tried to rewrite the narrative in multiple ways because that's what he does.
Isn't life funny though? Kid was a good, you could even say great point guard, and could lead the team on the floor. Moving him over 1 foot over to the sideline, he doesn't have a clue. Yep. What a different skill set between being a great player and a good coach.
Yep.
It's unbelievable. It's crazy to think about it. And then it's Luca. I gotta tell you, Luca. I used to hate the stuff with him, like 73% from the free throw line when he has such a great touch and prides himself on hitting half-court shots and three-quarter court shots, and he shoots 73% from the free throw line, touches hands. Like all these players the last 15 years, they love to touch hands after each free throw, made or missed. What are you so happy about breaking free throws? Luca is what I hate.
Well, he gets the longest break now that he's had since before his rookie year.
Also, what I hate...
second year, sorry.
Also, you know what made me think twice about him? He never misses an opportunity to hug the opposition after losses. He should be, mad as heck. Larry Bird would never do that, my hero. If he lost the game, he would be mad as heck. You would not see him glad-handing, hugging the opposition. That's a bad sign. They all do it. I understand.
I love these fire takes, though. Because this is coming, like, because I'm 1 year away from 40, so I think when I hit 40, I'm just gonna all of a sudden be old, and I'll feel this way too. It's like these damn kids.
I know, yeah. This is the Alta Kaka talking about how great things were like back in 30 years ago, but it's just it just rankles me. It's like I don't see a way out of this because the owner is not going anywhere, and the owner stinks as a manager.
That's why I was really sad all day, and that's like the stinks as a manager thing cannot be
fixed. Cannot be fixed.
No,
who can fire him is the fans. The fans can fire him
with their feet.
Stop going to the games. How come in New York, if this crap would go down in New York, what happened in Dallas today? You know what the fans would do? The fans would be throwing stuff on the court. There would be booze. I'm not saying
Knicks have been real bad for a long time, though. But I know what you mean. Not this year.
I'm not saying they're so sophisticated, but it doesn't take sophistication. Why are the fans taking it so good?
Because they've been told everything is great for 10 years, and that what Cuban is a master marketer, and every time a bad thing happens, he gets on the television, he gets in front of media microphones, and he goes, you know what? Us signing Dwight Howard is actually not signing Dwight Howard is actually a good thing. Here's why. And then he's a master salesman. If he put half the effort into team building that he does bullshit, the team would be great.
Right. But he's the guy that for one time that Donnie Nelson did something great and was banging the table to draft Giannis. He's the one that said, no, we got to sign Dwight Howard in the offseason for $400,000. Then that was the story. That's why they didn't draft Giannis.
Yeah, I know. That was terrible. But that's Akiva, I have 10 people I got to get to, and my wife is asking me why I'm doing this at all. Thank you so much for hanging out with me.
Great one. Take it easy.
Oh, we'll talk soon, all right?
Yep. Take it
all right. Man, good to have Akiva back in here. I know it's maybe, we'll do some of these in the off season, better times overseas, but we're gonna have a good time. We're gonna build this up. Okay, coming up next, I got to get somebody in here I've been arguing with all day. Friend of the show, enemy of many of the listeners, my friend and quasi-colleague, Matt Moore. What's up, Matt?
Hey, buddy. How are you guys doing?
Good. Your camera working or no?
I gotta give me a minute and I can get it on.
That's okay if you don't want to.
I'm just really, the situation has been fascinating to follow. And hearing you and Josh like make the argument on it has been fascinating. A lot of it gets into.
I just like that you guys are like. I like that a great section of the NBA commentariat is acting like the Dallas Mavericks invented tanking.
No, I think a more accurate description is that we haven't seen a team in this particular situation. So, like, I'm trying to think who it was. The real deal here is that you and Josh are like a couple of years ago, the Hornets basically did this.
Yep.
Like the Hornets were like, they could have gotten there and we're like, no, we're good. It's okay. Like, we're fine. And they didn't like hard tank. They didn't literally sit guys, but they did like soft tank out.
The hard tank is the element. If you're interested in like the literal sitting of guys and getting up there, the NBA should find them to the fucking moon. And this sort of stuff is I think then maybe that's what's getting lost in translation. I'm okay with that. But the concept that like, what Utah has been doing for 3 weeks, what Portland does every year, because Dame Lillard is a losing loser who loses and can't, and gets every excuse made for him because he's fucking Mighty Mouse, only Mighty Mouse that loses. This sort of stuff drives me nuts, but it's like the hard tank is it is a different point because they backtracked. Like somebody talked to Luca between today and yesterday. And what it says to me is the same thing that's been said to me about the Dallas Mavericks for going on 10 years, is that there is no plan. We are run by a guy who won the lottery and has since treated it like his own personal fantasy basketball team. Every decision is the next decision. It's going to be the next big boom. Oh, by the way, I can go sell you this, blah, blah, blah. Like he wants, I'm so frustrated. Yeah.
I can tell. The comparison here is that like the rest of us are like, but you're not the Hornets. You have Luca, and like you have a team that went to the Western Conference Finals last year, at least in the shell of itself. And you and Josh are very much of the opinion that you're like, no, they're the Hornets. No, they're just as bad. Like, let's be clear. They're just as bad as like the Hornets from a couple of years ago. Maybe not this year's Hornets, but like a version of the Hornets.
Shooting variance is like if the Mavericks had shot, they Josh pointed this out. He's in the chat, probably losing his mind right now at all of us. Josh pointed out that the Mavericks had not been blown out in a game Luka Doncic played in since January 6th. Okay. Yeah. So we're talking 3 months of no, but at the same time, they also played 1 million clutch games. So if you win 5 of the clutch games you lost, that changes this narrative entirely. Sometimes things happen.
Sure. For me, this really does get down to you and Josh are like, but they have to win 2 in a row and the Thunder have to lose. And then they have to win 2 road games.
You understand the Mavericks have won 2 in a row like once since the All-Star
break. We know
break.
that, man, but we're still like.
But you don't know. People don't know that. No,
you have
but
Luca.
people
go try.
They've been trying and they can't do it. So why would they try now?
They've been trying and they can't do it. You try until you can't anymore.
But they can't. It makes more
the ability. Then sure, because
they can't win. Like this was. This is going out to die for no reason. Now,
like, do you really think if the Thunder have to go to Dallas and face down, or not Thunder? Do you really think that like the Pels without Zion? Do you really think there's zero chance? There's zero chance.
The Dallas Mavericks allowed more than 55 points in the paint per game since the Kyrie trade. Teams know look at how the Bulls came back tonight. They realized, we just have to dribble into the paint and shoot it. The Chicago Bulls, led by guys whose names I can't pronounce, shot something like 16 of 20. Oh, Josh is mad enough to join.
I'm joining myself.
Josh is so mad at this.
Okay. So here's the thing. Matt, I don't disagree. Totally, like this shouldn't happen. That's what I want to make clear. Like I'm with you that this shouldn't happen. It's not good for the game, and it really bugs me that this is part of the game. But it also bugs me that like the Philadelphia 76ers put out like the worst product ever for like 3 straight years. Like the Mavericks at least put out a product for their fans to watch for 95% of the season. Like it sucks these 2 last games, but I think the big thing is if this was for the 8th seed. I would not be defending it. It's for the 10th seed and the play-in, which I think is way different than what we saw in the past.
That's what I don't get. I don't get why you're like, there's no way that they could do this. Like that it's that big of a difference.
It's because the payoff isn't the same. When the 8th seed, if you get the 8th seed, you get a guaranteed first-round series. You get
money. It's not one game.
Playoff revenue.
It's 4.
They're they have to win 2 road games. They're one of the worst road teams ever. Like, I just don't see.
What's the best win that you've had since the Kyrie trade?
Not one with both of them playing together. The Philadelphia 76ers,
the Sixers
where they shot 45% from 3 and won by 6.
Wouldn't the Lakers game be the one?
No, the Sixers game was better.
I mean, the Lakers
Luca and
game
Kyrie
was the
both
funniest.
scored 40. And
if they
Sixers
lost
were
the
trying.
Lakers game, because remember they beat the Spurs in overtime. They needed overtime for the Spurs, then the Lakers. So if they lost one of those games, this doesn't matter.
But this is my point, though. Is like, here's the thing. I'm not outraged. You guys are treating it like we're like the taking is bad. I'm not
you, but like your
Some
partner
people are
Action
outraged.
Network.
That's I do want to clarify that. You don't be bothered by Stuckey. Stuckey's
no, but it's an interesting take because we ran into this with Dallas football media all day, basically saying, "Hey, this is a problem. What is happening?" And I want folks to understand that it's like it was a win and go home. So if they won this game, if they lucked it, like Josh swore, I have receipts. Josh swore they were going to back into the play-in. We thought they were going to win tonight, which they nearly did. Then we figured that the bench Grizzlies were going to beat the Thunder on Sunday, and the Mavericks would back into the play-in and then lose. Only they would get to come into it with Mavs starters have 7 days of rest. They're going to be able to do, and it's just like, and they'd still lose because I can't tell you how everybody that talks about this team seems to think they've had a better record than they have. The Mavericks lost, I think, 6 or 7 times after the calendar flipped over last year in the regular season.
Right.
They lost many times. They lost many times.
And I get it. I really do get it. And a lot of this, and we've worked this out. We were talking about this on Slack all day, Josh. And like a lot of it comes down to, for me, I'm just kind of like, the idea of the pick is always going to be magical and amazing. And like, it could be anything. It could even be a player that leads you to a playoff spot. Like, it could be anything. And the reality is, like, it could also be like Zaire Williams. Like, it's a good draft. It's a really good draft. I get it. And having the pick is better than not having the pick, right? Like, just having the asset. And people are like, well, they're going to trade it. I'm like, you know how many times I've heard people like, oh, they're going to make a trade at the draft. Here they come. This is what they're going to make. Oh, no, nothing happened. Nothing came through because that's how trades work. And they just drafted a guy, and then he was just a guy.
So
I agree. I think the thing is the Mavericks are so. I would love a Zaire Williams draft pick on this roster right now. That's the problem.
That's how bad it is.
They have no avenue to improve the team other than maybe trading like a 2025 or 2027 pick. Like, they've got 2 young players and some future firsts, and that's about it. And
Harmon at least makes a pretty good point here, which is like having a chance at Wemby alone is worth it, even at 3%. He's not like that. I understand. Like, that's
probably, and when it's again, if it was the, and I know this is maybe this is just a me thing. If it was the 8th seed, I would understand. It's just the opportunity to scratch and claw while Kyrie's got plantar fasciitis to play 2 road games against 2 teams that are better than you. It's just, I don't see the payoff.
You have to admit you're overstating this a little. This is not like Sisyphean. Like, they got to win 2 road games versus teams that they can beat. Like, they can beat these teams are not that good. We know this. We know this.
And yet the Mavericks are like 4 games below them in the standings.
Sure.
They could beat them. I agree with you. They could be any team in the NBA, really. I mean, I kind of agreed with you about the Denver.
Here's the other part of this is that, like, one of my going theories is that a lot of it is like the NBA season is such a long timeline. You have these moments when teams are at their absolute nadir and at their absolute apex, right? And so like, you guys are like in the nadirest of the nadirest of the nadir. Like, you're at the lowest point you could possibly be at. And the problem with that is that right now you guys feel like this is just who they are. Like, this is the entire, I'm like, well, they haven't been, if they were this the whole year, then you wouldn't have to worry about it. They would already have been eliminated, and they could have soft tanked their way into a.
Well, I think if they had played it out without trading for Kyrie, they'd probably be a 9-10 seed just because the formula they had got them to the finish line in certain points. But so Luca also might have died.
What was it that the trade changed so dramatically? Because you know me, I'm always looking for an opportunity to blame Kyrie, but I can't because he's been so good. So like, what was it that changed it?
So Dorian Finney-Smith and Reggie Bullock looked like tires with no tread on them all season long. But the tread with or the tires with no tread are still better than no tires. And that's basically what happened.
They don't have any big wings.
They don't have anybody to guard. Like Josh Green is not a wing. He's a guard.
Sure.
He also fouls too much. Kyrie actually played pretty good defense. It's just they went our friend is Talk Franco wrote on this. They are small. They are like very, and so it's just over time, size is going to kill you. Luca was their best rebounder. You cannot play. You can't play guys like that.
And Maxey took like 85 steps back, which is understandable because
he died.
Or his freaking his hamstring.
I do want to say this though. Do the two of you have any sort of concerns about the fact that Luca very clearly did not want this?
Which thing?
For them to pull this, for them to pull the plug.
Oh, of course, but it's way down the list because it goes back to what I said, where when you go get JaVale McGee after losing Brunson, you clearly have no idea why you won to begin with.
Sure.
Right. It's not that I don't think he doesn't care about it. It's just that
I'm extremely worried.
If he does care about it, and it does really matter to him, there's also like 85 other things on the list that are worse than what they're doing right now that I think he would care more about.
I mean, they traded DFS at his approval, who was one of his best friends. They let Jalen Brunson walk, who was one of his best friends. I mean, have you?
Yeah, they got rid of Boban for Christian Wood. And
have you heard the Hoop Collective today? Tim McMahon goes, once you get around to it this weekend, Tim McMahon goes line by line at every stage where they messed up the Brunson thing. And I know your take that he still would have gone there. The fact that they disrespected him is one of those things that hangs around and hangs around and hangs around. Sure. I personally, we're just going to do this. We're 30 minutes into a live show. I think Luka Doncic is gone. I think they need to discuss trading him. Bomani Jones said so on the right time today. He said they need to go to him this summer and have a real conversation because they have shit the bed so thoroughly. They have no assets. That's why this pick matters. Even if it's garbage, it's the facsimile of something. You can't replace somebody with nothing. You have to have an ability to improve the team. If they re-sign Kyrie to even a less than max, they still have no cap room. You're still paying Tim Hardaway $20 million. You're still paying Davis Bertans till the end of time when Christ returns. It's killing me. Like, this team has no path forward. They're going to have to figure, like, Mark Cuban is the most linear GM in existence. They have no second round picks for 7 years. They've already out 2 first round picks. They have nothing to show for any of it.
Yep.
So let me ask you this, if Luca getting traded, like asking out,
I mean, they're not gonna, like, let's be clear.
I'm just saying, if Luca asked out and got traded and that meant that Cuban sold the franchise, would you rather have Luca and Cuban or no Luca and no Cuban?
I would rather have Luca and Cuban. I'm not that kind of dark times person. It's just they have done They've done the hard part with Luca and have fucked up everything since.
I think a lot of it, they're a good example of how you cannot buy into the success that you have. Like, it's just really important. If you're not doing it slow and organic, you just can't buy into the success that you have. Mm-hmm. Like, you guys were so ahead of the curve, honestly, for 3 seasons. And it's pretty baffling to most of us where we were like, the fuck is this? How is this team good? And then it kind of turned out that you weren't.
And like, no disrespect to some of these guys, and like Brooklyn's in the playoffs and they're still helping, but like, look at what Dorian and Dinwiddie are doing in Brooklyn. Like, Dorian shooting like 26% from 3 in Brooklyn, like under 30%. Like, Luca's gifts like really brought up the level of the rock. Like, he was the tide that lifted all boats. And I don't know if that deluded them into thinking how good the roster really was. You know, it's just,
we see this stuff a lot, right? Like, you have success and then GMs will always believe, executives, front offices, owners, whoever will always believe that the success is earned. They will always believe that like it's real and valid and like you should go in on it. Like, look what we accomplished with it. So if we just get a little better, and the reality is like you have to like really dive in and be like, are you as good as you think you are? And like Dallas this season like took such a massive step backward defensively to the point that like I don't understand how they were 7th last year. And I don't understand how they got this bad this year.
That's where my joke about them hating Rick Carlisle comes in. Yeah. They just rode that energy of hating.
No, this is, I mean, again, like, none of what we say ultimately matters, but and I'm okay talking about this. It's been 7 months.
Also, I have another question. If both of you want them to take blame for how badly they've managed the organization and all of their decisions, shouldn't you want people to tear them up over the tanking thing? You should fake it and be like, look at this organization tanking. Disgraceful. They should be fired. And
it's just funny that of all the things that they could be called out on, the fact that it's this.
Well, the hard tanking, like I'm exchanging messages right now with a particular reporter you guys both know. And it's not I think that Josh and I both sort of misunderstood elements of the discussion. The out and out hard tanking, not even the soft tank. Because go look at the NBA injury report tonight. There are people sitting out with like mumps and measles and chlamydia and all sorts of horse shit. None of these things are real. People are just resting outright. But the Mavericks sat like kid said, he walked it back like. That's why I made the joke beforehand that the Mavericks must have gone to the Sideshow Bob PR school of stepping on rakes, because none of them have any clue. It's like, lie better. Cuban did this in 2018 when the second half of the season when they were trying to tank. He's like, well, we're just going to tank like crazy. He got fined $600,000. You cannot be this kind of stupid. It's going to burn you. Not only in the basketball god sense, it's going to burn you with the league.
Yeah, like, I mean, that's already such a poison well, but like, you are. I mean, it's just from an outside perspective, when your best player, the MVP preseason candidate, all this types of that level player is like, I want to try and make it, and you literally are like, nah. That is really where I think like most of this comes from, is the decision to openly be like,
sure. That part I get.
And again, like if you guys, it's not like anybody's going to be mad if you guys were eliminated and did this. Like if it was like you were out, it's that specifically, it's like you needed to lose one more game or the Thunder to win one more game, right? And just worked out the timing wise because the Thunder lost just enough. But that's kind of the point here too. Is like the Thunder are like they had a really strong run, and then like they started to tail off, and so a lot of us were like, the Thunder are not like safe here. Like this could definitely go Dallas's way. And y'all's point of just being like, but they're not going to win two games. Like they're just not.
Well, and the Kings win for the Mavericks two days ago, I think sparked this into overdrive, because I believe that the Mavericks didn't think they would win that organizationally. Because
that's probably the weirdest part of all of it, is why did they wait until these two games?
And again, they won that because they shot 44% from three. If you back off, like it is
this very, like Ziller commented on this on Twitter, and he's right. Like it is this very specific combination of this level of superstar after this level of playoff success, with this level of stated intentions, with these kinds of expectations, this specifically close to a play-in spot, and choosing to go the other way. Like it's that combination of factors. There's not a lot of pro clutching, because most of the people that you guys are talking with are like pretty normalized to tanking. But like, I do think like this specific combination, I was just like, my entire thing this morning was just like, again, like you just mentioned, why did you try the Kings game? Like, why didn't you, if you're going to go this route like 6 games ago and just be like, we're a disaster. We got to get
I was upset about that because I was confused, where it's like, if you don't think you can, it's not just, we can win one game. Like they would have to win. I don't know. It's what
we talk about, is that they're a reactionary group. Yeah. They're not proactive. Mm-hmm. They just, their foresight.
And that's really evident with today, right? Where Kid literally says like a decision was made and like we thought we were going to go for it, and then we weren't. And like that clearly didn't sit well with either Kid or the locker room.
Nope.
Like that might be the best thing, but it wasn't communicated in a way that is going to leave them feeling like, well, I don't like it, but all right, I get it.
Yep.
Instead, like there's like Luca plays a quarter.
Mm-hmm. No, it's flat out just that part of it. I understand. I'm just like the specifics. If we're talking specifics, then I don't think we're that far apart.
We're not.
I really don't. It's
I know. I'm more mad at I'm probably getting more mad about it just because I think people are more mad about it, and that's because the internet is a hellhole. And
it's the hard I'm gonna message Tom later and just say like if we are talking about, and the particular reporter I'm talking to right now while we're discussing, it is the blatantness. That's probably like, I'm not going to be shocked if the Mavericks don't get in trouble for this. Like I don't know what the league will do, because the league is captained by a bald, a big coward, but we'll see.
I mean, this is just like part of it though, is like this is not a Mavericks thing. This is the whole league. Just it doesn't look good right now. Like there's so much.
Everything on ESPN's news of NBA stuff right now is bad. Like you go to it, it's embarrassing. This is not a watchable league, and we like it. So, well, thank you both for hopping in.
Thanks, man.
All right, we'll talk.
Good
soon.
talking to you.
Mm-hmm. All right, coming up next is my man Tamim, who has been waiting for a while. I appreciate you hanging out. What's going on, my friend? Saw you on video earlier. If we could do that again, I'd appreciate it. What's going on?
Hello.
Hello.
Kirk. Is it loud or
What's that?
is my voice loud or?
Yeah, we can hear you pretty good. Yeah, you sound all right.
Okay. So sorry, but actually my name is Tamim.
Tamim.
Tam.
Sorry, I
Yes.
can't.
Yeah, I know that's maybe.
Tamim, I'm glad you corrected me because I will remember. Thank you.
No, thank you, because usually I don't care about these things, but you're literally changing my meaning, the meaning of the name. So by saying it Tamim, it's a completely different thing about from Tamim.
Tamim. Well, what are we thinking about the Mavericks and all this nonsense? What did you think of the game?
Actually, I didn't watch the game. I just they gave up, so I will give up also.
Fair.
Yeah, when I saw this Mark Cuban's quote 2 nights ago, I was like, man, the worst thing in the world that a man who's stupid like Mark Cuban, who thinks himself as a genius, and this drives me crazy. He thinks he is a genius man, and he literally don't know anything about basketball and how to run a team. Like when I saw that take foul quote, I just laughed. Man, how is the take foul changing your method to build?
It was such an excuse. It was such an odd thing to talk about.
Yeah. So my question is, do you think that Luca played his last game as a Maverick?
Oh, no, I think he'll be back. I think he'll be back next year. When I said what I said to Matt and Josh there a second ago about the fact that I think if things really go sideways, and by that I mean they lose the pick, the draft pick, and Kyrie Irving were to maybe decide to sign elsewhere, I think they would have to go have that discussion with him. I don't think they will, for the aforementioned reason of I don't think Mark Cuban will ever trade Luca, like ever. But I think that there's something to be earned by treating your best player with the level of respect that he's earned.
Yeah, sure, Mark Cuban don't want to trade him, but Luca will ask for trade, because I can't see a path for the Mavericks to be a contending team for the next maybe 3 or 4 years. They have no picks, they have no assets to trade, they have a lot of bad contracts. So I think they have this the next season only as a chance to improve the roster and convince Luca to stay. And I just think that this game was a little bit of a game changer, that he may be asking for a trade this off season.
Nothing would shock me. I think that this is one element where there's such an outrage over what Dallas did in the brazen nature of it. Not in that they tanked, because teams do that all the time, but that they were like, we are tanking. And there's an element of that changes things, because this is not to be too melodramatic about it, but this is a stain on Luca's record. Luca shares this. So, and that's disappointing. Well, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Kirk, for having me.
Tamim, you're the man. I hope you come back.
Inshallah, I will.
All right. Talk soon. Okay, coming up next is my friend Lyndon, and I hope it's the same Lyndon from our other streams because he brings some fire. Can't wait. Lyndon, what's up?
Hey, Kirk, can you hear me?
I can. I wish I could see you, but that's okay. We'll do without.
No, I'm gonna turn on the camera.
There he is.
Yeah, man. I haven't. My daughter was born March 6th, so I haven't cut my hair or done anything in a long
See, no,
time.
I don't know if you heard me make this joke earlier, but doing this has like forced me to like, because like I would let my beard grow and I would just
Yeah.
look terrible. And I'm like, I told my wife, I was like, you just used to have to look at me. Why didn't you tell me? But hey,
Listen,
what's going on?
I don't really have any thoughts about the game. My thoughts are more about what you guys were discussing in the post game. I agreed with Josh so much because I was so upset like about the discussion around what the Mavs were doing, especially like by national media. Like these people, there's some people that I saw criticizing the Mavericks who like pray at the altar of Sam Presti. Sam Presti has had the Paul George picks, the Chris Paul picks, and still go look at like the previous 2 years of like how many games SGA played. Like
Sure.
1 year he didn't even play after the All-Star break, and that's okay. Everything's fine. Like Presti can tank every single year, and it's looked at as a joke. And it's like national media are like coming so hard down on the Mavericks. It's like I feel like okay, Cuban's an idiot, makes mistakes, but what's being discussed about the Mavericks is so disingenuous and so silly. I just think it's so silly. Firstly, with Damian Lillard is having one of the 7 greatest offensive seasons of all time. Of all time. And you know what they did? They shut him down. And everybody's like, okay, because Matt's like, you have Luca. They have Dame, and they shut him down. The Mavericks are not a good team. If the Bulls wanted to play their starters and the Mavs played their starters, the Bulls would have won anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I do think the distinction of the Mavs admitting it is what really floors people, because when they would shut SGA down, it would be with, well, he has a foot issue. Like today, they said half those guys were resting. Like there's something to be said for lying better. And I wonder if that would have made a difference, because the way Dallas approached this was, it was like they didn't realize their homework was due tomorrow. Oh shit, we have to figure out something to do right now. And they made all these very public, blatant mistakes where they didn't. I don't see why they even announced Luca playing. Like, why would you announce he's going to play a quarter? Why wouldn't you play him a quarter, take him back to the locker room, fake an injury? Who's gonna tell on you?
Yeah, my thing is, why are those type of things leaking? Like, why is that even leaking? Why is someone even telling the reporter that? The reporters don't need to know that ahead, like before the game or whatever. But I think that the national media doesn't even understand the position the Mavericks are in. The Mavericks don't have a present, or a future. They don't have assets, they don't have picks, and they don't have any real young talent. Like, that's basketball purgatory. You can look at teams like the Pacers or Hornets, or at least those teams have their picks. The Mavs don't even have picks. This is like their only opportunity to do something to make anything meaningful out of the season.
Now we
The
all
team's not good
understand.
enough to do anything. Like,
We all understand the Mavericks are falling to 11th, right? Like everybody gets that. Like that's what's gonna happen. Is somebody's gonna jump up and we're gonna fall back. I hate this. That's just the luck that Dallas will have, you know? Looks like Lyndon froze on us, but that's okay. We'll see if he's still there. We'll give him a second. Jeff says, "Don't speak that evil." I'm sorry.
Yeah,
there he is. You're back. You're back. What's up?
Yeah. Sorry, I was just saying that like they probably are gonna fall to 11th, which is actually funny. But I just don't like, especially people that I respect. Like I saw the athletic writer for the Utah Jazz like just going crazy about it, and I love him. I think he's one of the best people.
Tony, yeah.
But then I was like, oh, he's a Knicks fan, and then I'm like, also he's a Knicks fan. 1, 2, I'm like, these people, like, cause you guys were exalting Danny Ainge. Does anyone know what injury Lauri Markkanen has? Uh, Lauri Markkanen is about to be all NBA second team, and they just stopped playing him. He has no injury. They just stopped playing him, and it's like, why? What? Where's the hand wringing about that? I feel like the Mavs, and I think maybe even the fans, including myself, who make it easy to punch at them, even when like this is unfair. What's the way Mavs are being discussed? If Adam Silver were to punish the Mavericks for this, that would be unbelievable. That would be unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable, Kirk.
Well, I appreciate you switching platforms and coming to hang out with us.
Yeah, I've been watching, but with a newborn, I can't talk too loud or do anything.
I feel
with
that,
him,
man.
so.
Good for you for even getting in here. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I had to get my takes off because when Josh was mad, it made me even more mad that they made Josh mad.
I feel this. Well, congratulations on the newborn. They're a lot tougher than they think. Than you think. My wife once raised my son into a moving ceiling fan when he was 4 months. The noise it made was horrendous, but he was fine.
Before we go, something happened today. My wife went out to go buy clothes, and I had headphones in, and I'm lifting my head off of the bed, and my headphone drops and it knocks my daughter on the head, and she looks at me and starts crying, and I think, oh my God, I'm going to jail, right? And then she starts crying, she stops crying, and then she just chills out, and I was like, oh, she is tougher. Okay,
that's fine.
I'm okay.
Yeah, mate. I still got my boy's big and he's 7 now, and sometimes I have to carry him out, like, pick him up when he's in his sleep or something. I keep forgetting he's big, and I'll like slam his head in the doorway. It's great. He's fine. They're good. Well, we'll talk soon. I hope you come back. All right.
For sure.
All right. Talk soon. Let me see here. We're going to go to Micah next, who has been waiting patiently. We're going to get to every single person that's hanging out in here tonight because it is Friday night and I have nothing else to do. And that is what therapy is for, is to talk through it. Micah, what's going on?
What's going on, Kirk? You doing all right?
I am doing okay. I'm already thinking about tomorrow and the sheer number of chores I have to do, but that's fine. Right now we're bitching about the Mavericks.
Yeah, they are so bad out of shape. They're small. They're just, I mean, it's been the same thing all year. They're just tiny. You see it on the court, and it's just like, that's what's so maddening about Cuban's comments about the take foul. Like, dude, take foul has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that you are at a physical disadvantage in every matchup that you play, because you have constantly decided to go with 4 guard lineups and Dwight fucking Powell. Like, and we always talk about, we don't think they know why they won. I truly don't think they know why they lost. Right?
Sure, because of the size thing. Yeah, well, there was no way for them to there was just no way for them to fix it. Like, I don't think they realized they were that small until after Dorian was gone, because Dorian was a pretty good rebounder for his size.
Yeah. 6'8", 7 foot wingspan. All these other dudes we want to call them forwards, but I want that to be normalized. Let's stop calling forwards centers. Stop calling guards forwards. Let's just stop it. Like, positional size, it just matters. It always has. It's never changed. As much as we act like the size on the court has been different over the years or evolved into where everybody's running these small ass lineups, but that's never been the case. Like, if you look at the same team that everybody applauds as small ball, look at the size of all those Golden State championship teams.
Right.
Like, they were never playing more than 3 guys under 6'8". That never happened. And when you watch them this year, since they haven't had Wiggins and they don't trust Kuminga and end up putting DiVincenzo, who's 6'4", in that position, the same exact thing happens to them. That's why they're terrible on the road, because they get destroyed on the glass.
Yep.
Even with having Looney, so they don't understand ancillary moves. Like Tim was talking about this a while back. They only know how to pay max players and minimal role players. They don't know how to pay the in between. It's never like $20 million guys on the roster. It's either 40 plus or 10. So that's why we always end up this way. And they never accept that these guys lose value. Like, I've had to correct so many people that talk about, oh, well, we could have had Lauri Markkanen, and we decided no. Actually, it's much bleaker and much darker than that, because we went to Chicago and tried to make a trade for Lauri Markkanen, and they decided that a bum on an expiring contract, along with a draft pick, was better than anything we had to offer. And that includes Maxi Kleber. Yes, that's right. They would rather take a bum on an expiring than 2 years of Maxi Kleber. And that was before Maxi Kleber was Cook product. And we just gave that same player a 3-year extension. I wondered, because I remember somebody was talking about a while back, talking about the Dirk years, that at one point or another, every player outside of Dirk has been on the trading block.
Sure.
I'm wondering how many guys got extensions because other executives told Cuban that they have no value.
I get it. And we just said it's just we're gonna have so much stuff to talk about, and I'm gonna need to figure out over the offseason like how to talk about it in a way to where we're not talking about like the same 3 things over and over again, because that's what last summer became. It became like relitigating the Jalen Brunson thing over and over, and then like slow acceptance. What's that?
It's so much more. How many players did we give 2 second-round picks to obtain, and then immediately when we found out it is garbage, give 2 second rounds up to get rid of them? Giving up draft capital to turn them into thin air after we gave up draft capital to get them in the first place.
It's a lot, man.
That's why we have 1 second. It's like after the pick conveys to New York, whenever that is, that's the only second we will have in the next 7 years. And a lot of these players that we're seeing that we need, especially the big men, most of these guys were early second-round picks that developed within probably 2 seasons, because they never go high in the draft, but their position is the most translatable.
Right.
Like, we're seeing a walking embodiment of that in Walker Kessler.
Yes.
I didn't think he was going to be this good this fast. I thought he was going to have trouble with block cutting that led to a lot of fouls. And
sure.
And I haven't seen that this year. And a
Well,
bunch of second guys, Claxton, Mitchell Robinson, those were second round guys.
Yeah. There's talented players out there. You just got to go find them. Micah, I'm gonna try to get some folks that are waiting. You got anything else?
All
right, man. We'll talk soon. All right, have a good one too. All right. You guys are gonna get to hear me. I'm gonna go plug in my phone across the room. We're gonna continue the glorious tradition of Kirk leaving a live stream for less than 15 seconds. I will be right back, and you guys will hear me talking. Just quite the embarrassment of an evening, but that is the Dallas Mavericks for you. Coming up next, we're going to go to my friend Brandon, who has been waiting patiently as he always does. Brandon, what's going on tonight, man?
Kirk, I'm well. How are you?
I am secretly kind of okay that I'm not going to have to work quite so hard the next couple of months.
Yeah.
So what are you thinking tonight?
That's good. Man, I'm surprised they won and came back. But typical Dallas, they gave up a lead. But you made me think about what bringing up Luca, just hypothetically, somebody asking if he would like to be traded. And I think in a situation where he's fed up, I think the only leverage Dallas would have is the new bargaining agreement with the NBA. From my understanding, they could sign 2 max players and a potential good player with the new agreement, as opposed to having enough for 2 players. And then from my understanding, he would also be able to get more money if he stayed with Dallas. So financial leverage would be kind of the only saving grace Dallas would have in some aspects.
Isn't that the worst? Like, if that's the saving grace?
Yeah. I mean, Bradley Beal, he's admitted it. He likes his money, but outside of him, I mean, a lot of guys are, they're leaving, and those guys, they talk so they could, they get together and say, hey, look at this new deal. Maybe we could do this and do that. Go to, I don't know, maybe a Philadelphia or somewhere else and win, as opposed to Dallas. And man, just like the last call, the last person said, Dallas they're terrible when it comes to players. I mean, you got to think about it. A lot of times, Dallas has to give up something. Not only with Kristaps Porzingis, they have to give up something to move a player. What they gave up to move Porzingis was kind of unheard of. And if I'm not mistaken, it seems like, I could be wrong, but it seems like it was either Rajon Rondo or Odom or somebody. They had to give up a pick with that player just to move him off of the roster. And it was essentially for nothing at all.
This is what happened to LeBron in his first go-round with Cleveland, where they'd bring dudes in and then they'd have to trade off picks. And so they just ended up with nothing, and then he left them high and dry.
He left them high and dry. Yeah, he left them high and dry with a lot of role players and a lot of older veterans. But, and another thing that's really, I mean, and this is kind of unavoidable, and history shows it, that Dallas, they can't bring in players. And I've said it before that their name is always in mass media about being a potential spot or being somebody being an organization that's interested in a player. But more likely than not, I mean, they're not going to get that player. It doesn't matter who it is. It could be a role player or a competing player. Dallas isn't going to bring in many free agents. And I can't really think of a player that just outright signed with Dallas. It had to be some type of trade, or it was something where a player eventually ended up in Dallas. I can't think of a free agent that just said, I'm going to Dallas.
Sure. Never. Not in a long time. Not one that we were really wanting.
I can't think of a significant one. I mean, a lot of them were probably, I don't know. It's been a while. I could really just think of one that was like a contributing factor that just, ended up in Dallas. But, and one more thing, I think that, and you brought up before, a lot of that falls back on Luca, and accountability is important. And next year, with the new bargaining agreement, I believe they had to play 65 games to be considered for MVP and for All-NBA considerations. And I think maybe Luca's at barely over 65 right now. I could be wrong, but
I can't remember where he's at. I could go find out pretty quickly, but it's going to be an incentive for him and the team, because the thing about when these guys rest, the team pushes them to do it, and they tend to want to listen to medical staff. There are some exceptions. I've heard Joel Embiid has like full control over whether he plays or not because he's just so banged up. I think Luca probably wants to play all the time, and they have to force him to sit. And I suspect next year, these I've mentioned at least a few times during the show that they were really bad without Luca. Until Kyrie came along, I don't think they won a single game when Luca didn't play. And I just don't think he misses next year. I'm like, they're gonna have to figure out a way to get his usage down. But the sitting on back-to-backs, they weren't good enough to do that. And Luke Campbell says Luca is at 65 games exactly. Thank you, Josh. Josh Campbell, not Luca Campbell. It's a good incentive because these guys do want these sorts of accolades.
Yeah. Who don't want an MVP or All NBA? And I mean, I'm pretty sure they're going to pull in a lot of money. They pull in money for All-Star game.
Yeah,
they're definitely going to pull in money for All NBA and an MVP nod. But yeah, like you said, it's not a lot. It's not a lot of stuff to talk about. In a way, it's not a lot of optimism for the Mavericks. I mean,
well, we're gonna be, so I bitch often about how the CBA makes you become like a lawyer and an accountant. Now we get to become statisticians, where we learn how odds work. And we're going to be talking about the draft lottery and the different combinations a great deal of the time.
And Kirk, just curious, like, let's say in the worst case scenario, Dallas don't get the draft pick and Kyrie leaves. What do you think the team will look like next year? Do you see a free agent, or do you see a game plan for Dallas, or is it just kind of reactive mode?
I think they have to plan to keep Kyrie at all costs, and then from there they'll pivot. If Kyrie were to not sign, I think they would have a healthy chunk of cap space. But it's Scott CBA Mavs will have him right on this at some point whenever he gets the wherewithal. It's tough to write about this stuff sometimes because it feels it's not. There's like a moment for when people are interested in it. And I think now once the Mavericks are kind of, they're officially eliminated from everything, those moments will come between now and July. So you'll see that stuff on MavsMoneyball.com for sure.
Yeah. This seems like this would be one of the few times where Dallas has cap space in the offseason.
Yep.
Last year they had some and they tricked it off with Jalen, but this would be one of the few in a long times where they have cap space. And I kind of wonder if they'll try to re-up some guys or try to go after somebody else.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I am not sure.
Well, that's all I got, Kirk. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, no, thanks for joining us. Let me see here. Who is next? We have Leo, who's been waiting. Leo, what's going on?
Hi, is the mic sounding okay?
Your mic sounds great. What's going on?
All right. So do you really think this is the year we take our medicine, or is this just like us pouting and saying, I don't want it until we're forced to take it next year?
No, it's this year because there's nothing they can do. I think that if, people, the reason there were like the weird takes around like, I don't know, November, December, it's like, oh, the Mavs should tank. It's because this draft is that good on a top tier level where getting somebody would be helpful. Even that's just what we just at this point. I've mentioned this a few times. I think that the plan is to hope that luck favors us and they move into the top 4. That's the plan. Isn't it wild?
Can we sacrifice Mark Cuban's hairline for that? I'll gladly rip it off.
I mean, it's so difficult. There's like they're having like a Mavs appreciation party, I think, on Sunday before the game. And it's like Mavs fans appreciation party. And it's like, for what? What are we appreciative of?
Appreciate what? They call us out, saying that Twitter fans aren't real, saying that the people who watch 82 games a year and spend money on the crappy Bally Sports app are wrong for having these negative emotions, and how certain pundits couldn't have seen us being this bad when other people rightfully called out the team for not making a single move. And you're over here telling us, well, whoopsie.
And this is where, if I'm them, just to play devil's advocate, a few things go differently. Everything about this team feels different. If they win 2 to 3 more games, everybody feels different. And if this is the season, the hope has to be something like this shocks them into real change. I don't know if it will, because I think there's enough justification to say, well, if we had a couple of things go differently, if Maxey didn't get hurt, if we would have, even sank 20% of the game-winning shots we attempted, that's really what they're. I'm not sure what they'll do, because really changing out is not something I see. This is not something I see these guys as being able to do. Meaning, like, totally, changing out from Jason Kidd, moving on from Nico. Cuban saying, I'm going to take a firm step back because we've brought in person X with a track record. Like, I just don't see those things as actually happening. That's what needs to happen, but I don't think it's going to happen on this go round. I think it'll happen. I don't know how old Mark is now, 62, 63. Like, I think it'll happen when he's in his late 60s and that sort of thing at some point, but it's not yet. It's not yet. He still wants to do this. It's what one of his passions are.
But giving the benefit of these people the margins isn't fair, because that's how championship teams are created. It's by the margins. It's by choosing what players you want to develop in the G League and that you actually use your G League team. Or recognizing you have talent in the G League. How many players have gone through the Texas Legends, slipped by, and are on other teams having a beneficial impact on their team? We have Watanabe on our team, and he ended up on the Nets. We had Jose Alvarado in our G League team, and he went to the Pelicans. Christian Wood was on this team during the bubble year, or not during the 2 years before the bubble year when they won the championship. And it's like, what are we doing? Can we not recognize the talent we have on? Even if we can't use them, can we not trade them for assets?
It's tough. It's tough. I don't have a good explainer, because I think they have ignored's not fair. I think they have undervalued the elements of back-end roster spots for like playing function for several years now, and it's just caught up with them at the right times. I mean, these last several years, Luca enters the league. His second year is when COVID happens. His third year, he's basically played basketball from year 2 to now. He has not had a lot of breaks. It was, what was it, Christmas 2020? Yeah, Christmas 2020 to now. We're talking like 3.5 years straight of basketball. So hopefully Luca will get a little bit of rest in this regard, and we'll be able to see a different guy next year. But, there's just so much that can happen. Just so much that can happen.
But is it even fair to have that conversation about Luca playing so much at this point?
I'm just saying that's the reality, because I don't think he's gotten a lot of rest. I don't think he's gotten ways to tune his game. I don't think he's had time to shape his body, because he's just constantly playing ball.
And I feel bad for him, because I don't know how many Mavs fans I've seen come up on the show and be like, well, he shouldn't play for his national team. It's not. We're his team that pays him. As someone who does not live in their natural country of birth, you guys don't understand how important it is to see and to represent the national country like that, where you are from. That man is the most important person to Slovenia outside of politicians, and even more so.
Probably
this man
more
represents
so.
him on a global level, and a country that's the size of Fort Worth is in the Olympics.
That's right.
Like, you can't reasonably tell me you're a fan of this man or of the team and be like, well, he shouldn't be playing for them. Like, what's the point?
Yeah.
You can't tell a man who's devoted all of his being to the Mavericks and to this national team to pick one or the other.
Sure. No, I mean, it's the basketball social media sphere. American fans don't cross a lot of, like, you don't have a lot of like patriotic overlap. And it's always confusing to people, but we saw Lauri Markkanen is going to go, like, he's going to go complete his military service. Like, that was something where it's like, you all saw sort of people like, what? And it's, Luca representing his country is I think it might be the single most important thing to him on a basketball level. I think he said that, and I have to respect that, because I'm glad he is still playing on our team,
Well, he did say winning a gold medal or a medal with the Olympics is more important to him than winning a championship in the NBA. But thank you for bringing me up, and I'm honestly so happy Mavs fans get you and Josh to represent us, because we do not deserve you, and neither do the Mavs.
Oh, hush. Though I will say it is pretty funny. Watch, like, if we're at exactly 800 subscribers. It's been 10 days. So whoever is smashing that subscribe button, very much appreciate you. Go hit that like button while we're talking about it for the stream, because we're probably going to be going for at least another half hour with the folks I have waiting.
Oh, and I'd like to say, I told you so. I told you so.
Well, it's going to take me a while, though, man. It's like, I need a new camera. I need a new setup. And like, I just can't express, like, I love my wife, but she does not care that I do this. She's just like, this is dumb. So, all right, man. Thanks so much. All right. We're going to go to Partha next, who has also been waiting patiently. And then we got 4 folks after that. We're going to get to everyone. Partha, what's going on this evening, this morning, depending on where you are? What's up?
Hey, I'm right here in Dallas with you. Can y'all hear me?
I can. Welcome to the show. Thank you for staying up late with us.
Yeah, of course. First off, how are you doing, man? You've been going through it on the timeline a little bit.
Earlier today, I was pretty upset.
Yeah.
Last night I was real upset. I'm just
yeah,
gonna be
last
honest.
night you were real upset. I know how it feels.
And I'm 17,000 followers. I should probably behave myself a little more. But like I was a little liquored up. I drink a little more than I ought
Who's
to.
not?
And I didn't tonight though. I'm trying not to do that on streams anymore. But like I sat on the I've made some comments on it now and again, but like I sat on the fact that Mark Cuban went on a big podcast and when started talking about social media, made a comment about me, and that made me mad.
It's so petty and unserious coming
Like,
from a multi-billionaire who's
I have a-
running.
I
basketball
hope
team.
I hope one day that this is somehow like a real source of income for me, but that's probably not going to happen. We have 100 people in here. Our show gets anywhere.
Honestly, I was actually meaning to bring this up. 100 people for just when you got in with like 800 subscribers is a pretty healthy.
I have no idea what the metrics are. It's
like
fun.
20,000. I've seen 20,000 subscriber channels bring in like 150 people tops. You know, you have a pretty dedicated fan base.
I'm very grateful to everybody that does, but it's so odd because like our downloads on our podcasts, we got 1 million of them last year, but it's also because I pump out volume. We get anywhere from 2 to 5,000 people download our show, sometimes less on a given show. So it's like we have reach, but it's reach within a small subset. It's a reach that wouldn't fill more than like a fourth of American Airlines Center if everybody went at once. So it's like, you're really worried about the shit I'm saying? Like, come on.
It's only affecting a group of people that are also like so deeply ingrained within the Mavs subculture. You see what I'm saying?
Like they talk and over-index us way too much. I agree with Mark because one of the things he said repeatedly is that like our fan bases that are online are a little too nuts. I tend to agree with that because I get a lot of that one.
I think people are just a little too nuts in general and just manifests itself.
Social media has allowed people to say things they would never, ever, ever say in person. And and that's why like me trying to do something like this, I think is hopefully helpful to people because it's like you get to really talk with somebody. You
get to talk to real people, you know?
Yes, and you're not typing because the typing is like that's why like Matt Moore, who came on the show a little earlier, he and I were yelling at each other on Twitter, and I was like, "Shut up and come on my show," and then we had a nice conversation.
Yeah.
So, what are you thinking tonight?
Honestly, I'll be honest. I've been Team Tank since fucking Christmas. I know, like, it was fun going on the win streak, beating the Rockets and the Spurs over and over and over again. And it was fun seeing Christian Wood play good defense against, like, Damian Jones. But, like, I felt like right around then you could see that what was happening was so clearly not sustainable. And when Luca went up with that dumbass Statue of Liberty dunk and hurt his heel, like, at that point, I felt like, what are we doing here? You know, like what are we doing? Still trying to fight.
That play, I think, changed the Mavericks season because he was never right after that.
Oh my God. And like, that's what I'm saying too. Cause like that stretch between like early October to Christmas, he was just phenomenal. Like he was the MVP in my eyes. Like if he kept playing like that at a similar level until now, MVP, book it. Like, I don't care. But obviously that fucks us. And then the Kyrie trade, I think it's still good for what it is, you know?
Sure.
Like, this is the kind of thing that you have to make. Like, we tried with Tingus Pingus, and it didn't work out. And that's just what happens, you know? Like, the Bucks tried with, like, Eric Bledsoe. That didn't really work out either. So you move on. You try to find the new guy. Kyrie Irving is ultimately a much better guy than Kristaps Porzingis, you know? And I feel like a huge weight has been lifted off my chest with this loss, just stressing about what the Mavericks' future is as far, like, the whole, like, past, like, 5 months, you know? And now, for the first time, I feel like the front office knows, you know? They know, like, oh, we don't have it. We have to have this pick. We have to get Kyrie back, and we have to do X, Y, and Z to make sure that something changes, really. And I think I have a little bit of faith. I have a tempered amount of faith, just because I think I like the hirings that we did. I don't know if you, like a while ago, I think it was in like November, We hired the scouting guy from the Nets.
The what is it? The cap guy.
Yeah,
they hired the Nets cap guy.
Yeah, they hired the Nets cap guy. And if I'm not mistaken, he was involved on draft day, drafting Nicholas Claxton, Jared Allen, Cam Thomas, all these guys outside of the lottery. So he seems like a smart person, you know?
Yeah.
It seems like after leaving the previous guard behind, even if it's still like being real, like somewhat of an incestuous relationship between the Mavericks and whoever the fuck they decide to bring in, it seems like we've brought in like smarter people, you know, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think we'll retain our pick. I genuinely do believe that. I know everybody is doomed about going down to 11, but I really do feel like we're due for some luck. Like as like pie in the sky as it is, I just feel like something's gonna happen for us, you know? I really do feel like we're gonna keep that pick and draft someone or trade down, get someone else and a couple assets, maybe a player. God pray maybe Christian Wood is like agreeable enough to do a sign and trade to somewhere. If he's not going to just outright leave, maybe
I don't know who
something
wants
back.
him though. Like he's
That's
not
a good
in demand.
Point. That's
he's
a good
not.
Point also, yeah.
It's a
He's
difficult deal.
We've both tanked his value, and he's also tanked his value throughout.
No, he's a good player. He's a
Yeah.
guy who should probably make like what Dwight Powell makes and what Matt 12 to 15 would probably be fine. It's
a decent Bobby Portis kind of role, I think, on a contending team would be great for him. But we've just severed that relationship so terribly.
No, and that part's on Kid, and that's disappointing.
Yeah, it really is disappointing because, I mean, like we saw the things he could do against bench units, you know, like he really did provide us a boost. But all in all, like I really feel like for the first time since like the Grizzlies game, the second game of the season where we won by 30, this was like the most relief I felt as a Mavericks fan. This is the most cathartic game I've had where I feel like something is happening. And outside of that, really not much. If you have anything else.
No, well, I'm glad you joined us again. Appreciate it.
Of course. Yeah, have a good one.
All right. Let's go back to my man Sam, who has been waiting for a little while. Sam, thanks for joining us. What's up?
Hey, Kirk, can you hear me?
I can hear you. What's going on tonight?
Oh, nothing much. First of all, I still owe you that story that I've been meaning to like finish writing. I've just been so busy. You know, just I've had this whole story in my head about like the Dallas Mavericks and just as far as assets are concerned, and I've been trying to do a whole bunch of research on it because I literally want to go back since 2010 or 2011 title. And there's still a lot of stuff I still need to look up. So I'm going to get you that story before, well, I'll say after the season's over. So
we got time. I'm around. You know where to find me. So before you talk, I've been meaning to show two things, and I need to show this to the group real quick. So if you'll just give me a second, I'm gonna share my screen. The first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take a look at this. This was the meanest thing that was said during the game. The Mavs are finally getting it done in a clutch situation from Mike Prada. That hurt my feelings, Mike Prada. Just wanted to let you know. The second thing that I wanted to share was this incredible stat line here. And Luca Doncic joins a particular person, Michael Jordan, the only player in NBA history with a 32-8-8 season. So I don't know how we fucked this up, but we did. So tell me what you're thinking.
Damn, that hurts. That really hurts. Well, yeah, this is going back to Cuban. Like I said, I've been doing a lot of thinking, especially where I work at. I can't have my phone around me, so I leave it in my car.
Good choice. Phones will get you in trouble.
Yeah. So I go back to my car, and then I see Kyrie's out. I'm thinking, okay, I get it. Christian Wood is out. I'm like, oh, they don't really like playing him anyway. Then you see Josh Green's out for rest. 23-year-old, 22-year-old's out for rest. And you're trying to make the play-in, went all out against the Kings, and now you don't want to go all out against the Bulls. That's an organizational problem. And of course, at the end of the day, this is the best case situation for the team as an organization. Like, you want to have the pick because they give you so many options. far as you can either trade the pick or, God forbid you get the first pick. You draft once in a generational talent. So, the opportunity is there. But the fact that it's like the team, I want to banish this team to the shadow realm. They don't know what they want to do, which is really frustrating. Like, ever since they won the title, Q out like he's just holier than thou, and he knows everything that's going on. We let go of Tyson Chandler. Then we ended up getting him back 3 years later. We don't re-sign him. And then we think you have DeAndre Jordan. That doesn't happen. And then you're just throwing mismatches against the wall. You're just signing guys. You're just trading guys. You're not drafting good. You're not trying to draft good. You have a GM. I'll say he wasn't the best GM, but he wanted to draft Giannis. But you didn't want to draft him because you wanted to save like $400,000 for Dwight Howard. Like little things like that just build and build and build and build. You use a second round pick on a guy because he's good for for us in India. Now he's a effing wrestler. So it's like little things like that just let you know that you're not serious. Like I don't want to say he's thinking I don't think he's not a joke. I'm not saying he's not a joke, but there's just stupid things that he says, the stupid thing that he does where it's like, bro, what are you doing? Like, I went back and read that story about the shadow GM thing a couple years ago, with Hawala Bob and Donnie Nelson and how, they didn't know who was supposed to draft who, and then Donnie walked out of the draft room. So they were like, well, I guess we got to make the pick. And in the story, I remember they were saying that Cuba was like, hey, I want you to come in because I want you to have some type of like chaos. I want you to kind of shake things up a little bit. Why? Like, why? Why would you do that? You got a guy like 3 years ago, what was his name? Rosas, the GM that they signed, and then they cut, like they fired him like a month later. Like, now granted, I mean, he turned out to be kind of a weird dude anyway, so I kind of get it. But little things like that. Why would you sign a guy and then fire him a month later if you don't want him? Do you want to be the GM? Just call yourself the GM. I mean, you're basically the GM. You're pretty much the GM at this point. And that 2020 draft, I think, is when that really set us back because, obviously
everybody that was drafted in that section though is kind of garbage. Like Josh Green has ended up being a pretty good player relative to the rest of the draft.
True, of course. And I'm not saying that that's the case, but you see what Luca can do for you because look at Dorian Finney-Smith. Like, he was gangbusters for the most part in Dallas, and now he's on Brooklyn. That man can't hit a shot for shit.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just imagine if you had a Sadiq Bey. Obviously, if you had a Desmond Bain, it'll be a whole different story.
Sure.
That spreads the floor even more. And even the worst part is the second round picks. We ended up drafting two guys that one basically got cut in a year. The other guy, don't want to say nothing bad because I think he was having some mental issues, so don't want to say nothing bad about him. But it's like you had a chance to maybe do something, and that draft just ended up being wasted for the most. And now you're kind of having to make up for that, and then you're having to, like the other guy, like I said in my story that I'm going to write, you're having to trade assets away, to get rid of players that you drafted or that you traded for. There's no reason to sign Kristaps Porzingis to a 5-year max contract after he's coming off a torn ACL. He hasn't played in a year and a half.
Yeah, it's terrible.
No reason to give Jalen Brunson a second-round pick a restricted free agent contract, or a restricted contract where he can leave after 3-4 years, and then it's just little things like that that make no sense. No reason to give Maxi Kleber, a dude that is burnt toast, a 3-year extension. Like, just things that build and build and build and build. Now you're in a situation to where you gotta pray to do something that you've never done in your team's history, which is maybe move up in the draft. Never
Ever.
done.
They've never moved. Yeah, it's hard to believe that, but they also haven't been in it too. Yeah, it's a small thing.
It's a small thing, but that's what you're hoping for. And if that doesn't happen, and if they lose the pick, not where you're at. And if Kyrie leaves, what are you gonna do? You have sure, but you've seen what we've done with cap space the last 10 years. So what are you gonna do? Because we know the problem is, Kirk, we know it's sad because I played basketball in high school. Like that's as I got. I wasn't good in college. Never played in college. Never played in the pros. Obviously, whatever. We said this last year. This was going to happen. We all said this was going to happen. We knew it as fans. Why didn't they?
It's impossible. It's impossible.
Because you have a guy like Luca, you have a guy like Dirk, who has honestly saved your ass the last 20 years. Because Without Dirk, God, he covered up a lot of shit on this franchise. And then Luca comes in. Like, you draft another guy that is gonna save your franchise, and you're fucking it up again. Like, how do you do that? Like, how do you do that? You got the guy. You got the hard part. The easy part is building. And I get it. You know, maybe he was too good too quickly. He was quicker. He was good. He was a lot better than you expected so fast. So you said, you know what, let's be at the prices. Let's get KP. I wasn't mad at the trade. I loved it. I was like, okay, you got a guy with KP, and that could be the next Nash and Dirk. You know, that's what I was thinking.
Right.
And obviously, you know, injuries and things just didn't work out. But it's like,
it's terrible.
Yeah, 2019 that's gonna F us forever, because you had a chance to rebuild the team to, you know, perennial finals contender every year, and you wasted it on 5 years of Chris Stapps, and then hoping to get Danny Green, and you got the line right. So it's like,
pining for Danny Green is one of the tyrant, like, one of the things that makes me sad that I did.
Yeah, I mean, I was too. Don't get me wrong. He just came off winning a title too, so I was like, well, you know, you just get a vet guy that knows how to win, something like that. But now we're here. I don't even care about firing Kid anymore. It's like, he's not gonna get fired.
No, he'll be back. It's fine.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, okay, we gotta pray for it, and we gotta pray.
Well, he's been pretty good at development. I think both Hardy and Green are a testament to what his team put together. Because, you know, Hardy looks good. Green looked better. There's just something there, but everything else I could move on from.
Yeah, there's that one in the spectrum, but then you got Christian Wood. It's like, for some reason he came in and you just didn't like him, and it was obvious from game one. So I don't get that neither. But, you know, we got a whole offseason to worry about it. We're not in the playoffs, so
that we do. Sam, thanks so much for hanging out.
Hey, no problem. Have a good night.
You too. All right, Rain, you're coming up next, and we're at 90 minutes. Just an impossible task. We'll make it to 2 hours one day, but not today. Rain, what's up?
Oh, you know, I checked in to watch the game and thought, fuck me, this team doesn't even know how to lose right.
It was kind of frightening for most of the game. I thought the Mavs were going to run away with it.
And it looked like that for a lot of the game. I didn't watch the whole game through. I just checked it in. It kept checking it in throughout the day because, what do you know? It's 3 o'clock here, so I have to sit with the fact that I'm both happy and sad at the same time.
Right.
But hey, we're one step closer to maybe keeping our pick. And I'm just... This fan base is so frustrating. I spend way too much time on the Mavs subreddit.
That place is a difficult place to be sometimes. I've found some really smart people, but then it's like, what is happening every now and again?
And I don't know a more divisive place than from New Zealand or in Australia. We're not so politically divided, so that sort of division is not something that you're sort of used to. But the amount of people who, when there's any sort of comment about how keeping the pick or even having the potential to move up actually is the best thing for the future of the franchise. Yeah, it sucks for the Mavs record and it sucks for Luca's legacy that he misses one playoffs. But if we move up to get like a top 4 pick, and those roster moves and that change leads to Luca winning a championship or 2, I think he'll be fine. Missing one playoff versus having a chip, obviously, which we have.
Yeah.
And they're like mid game in their game chat, they're going, guys, other teams, OKC might move down. Maybe should we make a plan? Which is like, well, for what? A participation trophy? If you think about it, how far away are we from a real playoff spot? Because that's only getting to.
They would have to win
by no means guarantees.
Yeah, they'd have to win 2 straight games, and I just don't see them doing that.
And yeah, they haven't done that basically all season. The only time they have won multiple games in a row, Luca's gone absolutely fucking nuts. He's played beyond MVP level, historical numbers, and they scrape by 1 or 2 points. And it's literally a Hail Mary play on Luca's behalf that they managed to scrape a couple of wins against terrible teams. It's just... And then, you know, Tankathon. It's my... what are we at? Oh, I just did a roll. We move up to third.
Hey,
What a
look
laugh
at
that
that.
would
See, this thing is just it's like it's reverse gaslighting. Like it's just giving us hope that I don't know if we should have.
And it's sad to think that this time last year, here I was thinking, okay, can we move up past the Warriors? Are we able to get up one spot? Maybe should we drop back a little bit for a better matchup? And here we are going, maybe we might keep our pick.
That's right.
This is what they should have done 3 years ago. I understand the KP trade. Was an extremely low value at the time, and it didn't pay off. And he wasn't healthy. Sure, if he played like he was playing in Washington right now for the last 2 years of the Mavericks, or last 3 years he had with the Mavericks, he would never have been traded. If he was this healthy, even let's forget about how he played. Let's forget about his shooting percentages. If he even just played 50 to 60 games a year every year for the Mavericks, he'd probably still be on the team, because what do we always say? The best ability is availability, and he simply wasn't. So people were going, oh, that was a bad trade. Well, there's no way they could have predicted, given his track record, that he was actually going to have a season where he plays more than 50 games. We probably thought he was going to be playing 30 games for the rest of his life. So we can't retroactively say that was a bad trade on Nico's behalf. And I also see a lot of people on the Reddit saying that, Nico is a terrible GM. And,
he's a
got some stuff to
patsy.
prove.
He's not even the GM, in my opinion. He's a guy who wears the title. All of Cuban's comments before the game, the Kings game, made it clear to me that that Nico's a rubber stamp guy. He's there to make introductions. Cuban makes all the calls.
Exactly. And on top of that, people hold against him this JaVale McGee contract, which, yes, he obviously ended up signing off on. But Cuban announced who the head coach was going to be before we knew who the GM was. Kind of probably gives us a little bit of an idea of who has more power in the hierarchy. And we know for a fact that kid wanted McGee.
Do I know that for a fact?
Oh, no, sorry. I think we don't know that for a fact, sorry, but we have it on pretty...
Yeah. There's you can make... It's a fair assumption.
Yes. And, there's not too many steps to look through of why he may want that. And then we're blaming Nico for this. Now, we also, by that right, can't necessarily praise Nico for the Jaden Hardy draft pick. Who knows if that was really him or whoever their scouts are, but I think we should give Nico at least a chance. I think Cuban should definitely give Nico a chance. Who knows? Maybe he might figure it out. But I don't think that's going to happen, and we can't get rid of Cuban, and are genuinely afraid that, hey, Kyrie might be pissed off about this too. Kyrie probably doesn't like that he's missed the playoff season. Is he going to want to stay? He won for he'll probably want the contract, and hopefully, at minimum they could get a sign and trade. But people are constantly saying, who's going to sign Kyrie for a max? It's I think everyone forgets, when we watch Kyrie play, he's absolutely amazing. I have to say that there was a play he made against the Clippers where Kawhi was blocking him, hand on the ball. And Kawhi's hand's massive, like Shaq-sized hand on the ball. And while he had the game sense and the physical sense to know, while he's mid-air, no, I'm just going to wait to his hand actually physically leaves the ball, and I'm just going to hold it a little bit longer and then get that shot. And that might be one of the craziest things I've ever seen in the slow motion. I didn't understand it in real time. Who could? But to watch, the ball was literally blocked, and he went, nah, fuck it. I'm just going to hold off another second, and still makes the shot from under the basket. It was crazy. And that is why people will pay him for no matter how crazy it is, because he's been an upstanding citizen since he's been in Dallas. He's been perfect.
It's been great.
And that's not going to last. Let's be honest. It's not going to last.
I mean, there's something about getting to your 30s in your final contract where I think he had dalliances, but I like the best predictor of future behavior is the past. And that's what's,
And so, like I said, odds are something's going to happen. And that might be next year. It might be 2-3 years. But the Mavericks have no choice. They have to sign him for the full extension. It's why he left the Nets. There's no choice. They have to sign to him. And you know what? If he causes trouble in a couple of years, there's going to be someone who will trade for him too. We traded for him exceptionally low. Odds are we can probably get back at minimum what we gave, maybe. But they have no choice. They have to sign him. And if they don't, I think realistically they should. Like you said, they won't discuss trading Luca. Not even. I became a Mavericks fan. I was looking for a team, and Luca happened to be the guy in the NBA that I liked the look of the most.
Sure.
So that's why I'm here. As I'm probably sure a lot of Slovenian fans are purely here for Luca. Now
that's right. Yeah, that's okay.
I've grown to love the team, but all the players that I love on the team are also now gone. Brunson's gone. Brunson's was amazing. I was pretty high on him. I was kind of low on Green, but this year I've kind of been a bit of fan of DFS. Dorian Finney-Smith was probably one of the coolest players I've ever seen there. And just in personality-wise, obviously on the court, he's pretty, he is what he is. But has been a guy that you can really get behind his journey of what he became. And part of that is probably what Luca uplifted him to be able to perform at. But all these players are now gone. And I wonder how much that actually impacts the team. Losing Luca and losing all these players, it's the edge of the abyss, I genuinely think. And we just got to hope and pray that maybe they move up, or at minimum keep their pick.
I'm on the same page as you, man. Well, thanks for hanging out. I hope you have a good rest of the day.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, Kirk. Thanks for doing this.
Talk soon.
See you there.
Yep. Like Krishna, you're coming up. You've been waiting forever. I've been going person by person, but Krishna, what's up, man? Good to see your face.
Kirk, can you hear me?
I can. Welcome.
When did we last talk? I think we talked
before I did this.
So many
it's
losses.
Been at least it's been at least 5 or 6 games.
It was one of your last lives, but I've been watching these. It's been good. It's been interesting. Not because of the streams are bad, but mostly because of how horrific the Mavericks have been. And and it's so funny. I remember I saw earlier in the chat someone mentioned who's a worse GM, Jerry or Mark. And the one thing I'll give Jerry credit for is at least he's openly the GM.
Yep.
Like there's no BSing it. He is the GM.
Jerry also never had a
there's no
player.
hiding.
Jerry has never had a player like that's comparable to Luca.
Yeah. I would agree. Yes. Also because the sport is so different. Like,
to me, it's like getting Patrick Mahomes and then effing up everything for 4 years.
Yeah. I would agree. But the thing is, it's like it's hard to compare because just getting a talent that good, especially at quarterback, is way rarer than I think in basketball. Because like we've just seen it, and I know someone was up here earlier. I forget. I think it was Brandon. No, it was not Brandon. I forget. I apologize. But they were mentioning like, why do the Thunder get a pass? And I think the thing is, we look at the Thunder and we look at their tanking, and we say, oh, but they're just tanking. But there is some systematic plan to it. Like that trade to get Paul George out happened at the same time as Russ. Like it was probably adaptive. Like it was probably a thing where they would have gone with Russ and PG. But as soon as they saw PG was going to go, they also had something for Russ. And, Shea has now, he won't make the playoffs this season, or I guess technically the play-in, but he's made the play-in or at least the playoffs at some point. And his development as a player has been linear with the talent that's developed alongside him. You still have Josh Giddey, even if he's good or not. You have 2 Jalen Williams, and one of them also looks like a really solid prospect. You have Chet. You have no idea what he is. You have other picks. And that's kind of the difference is there's just a lot of talent that are in a similar age bracket as their superstar in Shea. And it's kind of why earlier in the season, you talked about there was people tanking. I wasn't full tank, but I was definitely this roster just needed to be retooled. I like guys like Maxey and Dorian and Reggie, these veteran guys, but ultimately they're in a completely different age bracket from Luca, and it's so easy to forget that Luca is 24, and you have guys who are supposed to be the crux of this team who are in their late 20s and early 30s. which it's not a great sign at all. And when you lose the only other person who was in a similar age bracket to Luca that was even comparable to his level, it spells out problems just overall. And it's been something that I think is a little underrated with the Dirk era, is where that 2011 team, like Kidd was obviously a little bit of an outlier in terms of his age, but a lot of the guys who were really good on that team, Marion, Tyson Chandler was a bit younger, but Terry, they were all in a similar age range and had a similar level of experience, whether it was on that Mavs team or elsewhere. And kind of the problem is, you have guys who have had other experiences elsewhere, and you have Luca who's had his own experiences and is probably still going to have others, obviously. And it's just kind of this clashing where it just doesn't fit. You just don't have a great fit in terms of the age profiles and brackets. And then similarly, you just don't have the right kind of bracketing of player talent, right? Like even before the Kyrie trade, I always felt like there was just too much of a gap between Spencer as your second best player or whoever you wanted to, and Luca. And now Kyrie is definitely closer to Luca, but the gap between Kyrie and your third best player is still very large.
Yes.
And it's not that there's never going to be a jump. There is. But if you look at a lot of the best teams in the league, like the Bucks or the Celtics, that gap is like the fourth, the fifth, like under the starters. It's usually like the seventh or eighth player where that gap is immense, because it means that you have at least a few guys who you can rely upon later in the rotation. It doesn't mean there's not gaps. And obviously, construction as a whole is so different.
Right.
But it's that's what's so frustrating to me, is that there are definitely ways this roster could have been improved earlier. I think Tim Cato pointed it out when he ironically did a pod, I think right before the Sacramento game, called the Season's Over. And he talked about how Cuban has had a tendency now to pay the max guys and tend to pay players 15 or below, but he's not ever paid anyone in this $20 million bracket, which is the kind of bracket underneath a superstar that you need. And it's something that I don't know whether it's just I don't think we should pay players in that bracket, or I just don't think we have players in that bracket. But I think it's a really good indicator for how there's just been a poor evaluation of the talent that they have on this team, and then a poor evaluation of talent in the league in general. And I don't know how this changes, but it'll be interesting to change. And of course, like there's all the scenarios and stuff, but I think there's just been a lot of talk. And ultimately for me, I've been off of social media because I always put in my mind when I'm on social media is that it's a representation. It's not necessarily the whole, because I'm sure if you talk to a lot of Mavericks fans, like even people who go to games, like I think there's this idea that people who go to games are the like diehard fans, but really it's probably just some like person who found the tickets or planned to get
I
the
would
tickets.
say like 30% of the fans on a given night are like diehards. Like the upper guy, it's hard to be a consistent Mavs fan.
Like if you asked most Mavericks fans, like who did the Mavericks trade to get Kyrie? I don't think a lot of fans would be able to tell you.
Yeah,
like I genuinely
particularly
don't
when you
think
go in the lower bowl, that's for certain. I've been to games where like people don't know who half the players are, and it's like,
I mean, exactly. Like, how many people knew who AJ Lawson was? Like, who knew that AJ Lawson was on our summer league team this past year, and that he wasn't actually on the team when the season started? So it's like, and I think now we're kind of seeing, and it'll be interesting to see if a lot of those fans start to look at a season like this and go, like, what are the Mavericks doing? And you've kind of put it best, and everyone's put it best. It's not just owning up for the mistakes you made, but it's then you have to rectify it and learn the lessons. And I think the issue is, before the Brunson thing, Cuban constantly went around and talked about how Steve Nash leaving was his biggest mistake, and I'm not going to say Brunson is that. I don't think that. But it felt like he just talked about learning the mistake and never really acted upon it, or never really realized any of the mistakes that happen. And it's not to say no one can make mistakes, but the issues are you can talk about all these things and say them, but without the action to do it, it's just it's just garble. And I feel bad for all the media, like guys like Tim Cato and Tim McMahon, these guys, people who have to be there, like Grant Afseth, like people who have to be there and listen to this and like try to be attentive when it feels like they're not even being attentive or really putting their own effort in, which is kind of frustrating.
Yeah. All of this is frustrating.
I mean, it'll be interesting. I still like draft stuff. It was really interesting last year. Just because, it's evaluating players. Like, it's always going to be hit or miss, but especially a draft like this where there's so much talent, it will be very interesting to see. So hopefully we get something good out of it, but otherwise, hopefully everyone has a good night. I don't want to keep us waiting too much longer.
Well, appreciate you coming on, man. We'll talk soon, okay?
Yeah, take care, man.
All right, good night. Okay, guys, I promised everybody that we're going to do, when we do these live shows, anybody that's like really listening at this point is just still a sicko, and I couldn't be more grateful for you. We're going to end every live show with the Tankathon rule. That's what we're going to do. We're going to resume the journey. Why does Tankathon do this? Like just let me find Tankathon, Google. Then we're going to switch over to the right thing, and then we're going to make my screen a little bigger so we can actually see this thing this time. Man, there's so many ads on Tankathon. That's all right. We're gonna get out of them here. Okay, so coming up on the stream, let's go to present. You'd think I'd be in a better place to do this. I'm just so tired. I'm not really thinking straight. All right, so we got our Tankathon odds. That doesn't look the best. Let's shrink it to 90. Why is this there? This is quite the. All right, so here we are. We got everything up. Those ads look a little better. Dallas right here, firmly locked. This pick is currently not traded because it is protected pick 1 through 10. Let us sim the lottery. We're going to do it once tonight. Dallas stays at 10. Interesting. God, I love these flattened lottery odds. Okay, guys, this has been a lot of fun. As always, appreciate you hanging out. Please go. Hey, we got one more joiner. I just see Ray clicking in. Hey, Ray, what's going on?
Hey, buddy. How's it going? All good?
I am whipped, but that's okay. We're still here.
We just have to try to think glass half full because what choice do we have, really?
That's right.
Yeah. So I've been a big Mavericks fan from New Zealand all the way back since Dirk's, the 04-05 season. It's been shit. I don't even know what to say. The Sacramento game really puzzled me.
Mm-hmm.
And then seeing the news today before the game started that they're sending everyone out.
I think they expected to sort of organically lose that game, and then they didn't. Because players don't quit, but I think they thought they were just going to get beat. And the Kings run the second night of a back-to-back, and they just punched them in the mouth. And then I think everything came to a head pretty quickly. And then Dallas did this just so blatantly.
Yeah. It's one of those. It's just one of those moments where you kind of just go. I was kind of glad to hear kids say that there's going to be a lot of changes, but again, with kids' press conferences lately, who knows what he means anymore?
Right. He says so much. A Laker friend of mine, so the Los Angeles Lakers, who deal with all sorts of media chicanery, came on. I went on his show, and he's like, Jason Kidd has had the weirdest press conferences of anything I've seen this year. I was like, oh, okay, good. It's not just me. That's how I feel. But, I don't have the best perspective.
He does this dry humor thing where you kind of just go like, dude, are we, what do you actually think?
Right.
Yeah. Like at some point, it's not about, I get that, you want to keep things with the team behind locker rooms and closed doors and all that sort of stuff. But at some point, you got to make the fans feel like there's a direction. So yeah. So, I mean, hopefully at the end of the day, we what is it? 80% odds now for that protected pick.
Okay. So I had this pulled up. Let me go. One of the Mavs Moneyball staff writers, Matthew, explained this to me like I was 5. He says, okay, the difference between 10 has a 66% chance of staying in the top 10. The biggest difference is there's a 77.5% chance of 10. See, this I can't Matthew, who if he's listening to the pod tomorrow, even this doesn't even make sense when I'm reading it out. See, I don't want to learn statistics. I just want someone to. I think I may just go hide in a hole until May 16th, and then someone can tell me whether the Mavs keep it or not.
just a simple number, like, hey,
Yeah.
it's,
I mean, I'm glad they
80%.
flattened the odds, but it's just like I'm stupid. Like someone explained it to me like I'm 5.
yeah, no, I hear you. Well, look, at least that's the only saving grace we've got at this point.
Right.
I did some, mock simulation NBA 2K just to pretend I was a GM and see what it's like if Kyrie was to say see ya, or we told Kyrie to see ya. $25 million apparently in cap room. Like, I don't know how accurate that would be.
That actually is what I've been told too by CBA Mavs who writes for Mavs Moneyball that's what the figure would be.
Yeah, so 25 million, and you got what, 7 players that you need to sign to make a 15-man roster. You're not going to get. And who's our best free agent at this point? To get Fred VanVleet. That's it.
And he is so outrageous. Toronto will probably try to keep him.
They'll try to keep him anyways. Yeah. So, well, we'll just hopefully this draft pick turns into something, and we get some bigs, some rebounding, and see where it takes us.
Yep. Well, thanks so much for joining us, Ray.
No worries, man. All good.
All right. Talk soon. Okay. All right. So I think we're gonna do Tankathon again. We're gonna do Tankathon again because Ray was the last guest. So we're gonna go back and we're gonna do Tankathon again. Let's go to the share screen. Let's click sim lot. Let's gonna reset. Okay, Mavericks here at 10th. Let's click it again. And the Mavericks stay at 10. Okay, so that's gonna be that. That's a pretty likely thing. Okay, of course, now Jonathan's joining us. This is just great podcasting for everyone involved. We're gonna make it a firm 2 hours because Jonathan's here. What's up, man?
Can you hear me well?
I can. Sounds like you're out and about though.
Yeah, I'm at the gym right now. I just wanted to stop by and just talk a little.
That's a pretty good flex. I'm at the gym and calling into a show. That's a good guy. So what's up?
I just wanted to say I had a question. So basically, if the Bulls win and the Thunder win, or the Thunder and Bulls lose, and we win, are we tied for the 10th pick?
Let me go see, because that is a very good question. At that point, so the Mavericks have a 1 game. If both of those teams were to lose and the Mavericks are to win, then it would be a 3-way tie, 39 and 43. And then I think it would be coin flips to determine positioning. So I think that's a good question.
And I have if you go back to game 1 of the season, this whole season can basically be told by the first game of the season versus the Suns. We go up big, we're winning, everyone's feeling happy, and then we blow another lead. And then full season, sub out, blown leads, fourth quarter collapses, I don't know. The Mavs season is I'm glad that it's over now and we don't
very cursed.
don't have to worry about trying to win against the Spurs, because I don't even know if we had to beat the Spurs. I don't know. The Spurs may do something crazy and beat us if we were trying to win, but it still baffles me that Theo Pinson was playing over AJ Lawson for when we actually wanted to win games.
That's true. Theo, like AJ was just such a burst of energy and athleticism. I think they might have been worried about his size because he's pretty skinny, but he played hard. I don't know.
I'd rather see him versus Theo Pinson.
Sure.
I'm gonna be glad to see Theo Pinson gone off this team.
I will not miss him.
Yeah, he gave us a couple texts, No.
That's right.
Biggest impact. But I think I'm now at peace because I guess Kid's gonna be back. I'm 100% sure he's probably gonna be back. And you probably have at least half the season to right the ship if it's going downhill again. I don't see him lasting a full year, but you never know with Keaton. But yeah, just got to keep the 10th pick. If we keep the 10th pick, I'll be very happy. If we move up to top 4, I don't even know what to do. I saw someone was saying you should trade the top 4 pick for OG, and I'm I don't want to do that.
Well, I suppose we get to have that debate if something fun like that occurs.
Yeah,
I'd like that.
OG, but I'd rather just take the young talent.
Oh no, I just meant I'd like the ability to have the argument about what would we do with the number 4 pick. That would be fun.
Yeah, and the pipe dream of Wemby, but I'm not even gonna think about that right now.
I think that's fair. It's not healthy. Hope is not healthy.
Yeah, Mavs never moved up ever, so
Ever.
Yeah.
That's right. All right, man. Well,
But there's
thanks
a
for
fake
hanging
for
out.
everything. Yeah, keep it at 2 hours. We got to get out of here. Everyone needs
That's
to go to
right.
sleep.
That's right. Talk soon,
All right.
man. All right. Bye.
Hey, guys.
Okay.
See you.
We're going to do now. Nobody else join. I'm just kidding. If anybody wants else to talk, they can. But I'm going to go back to Tankathon for one final time because this is the end. Those other two don't count. Okay. This is the end. Let's go to Tankathon. We're going to reset it. Last but not least, click. And Mavericks stay at 10th. All right. There we are. There we are. That's what we're going to be doing. Guys, can't tell you how much I appreciate you. Please go hit that like button and go hit the subscribe button and the bell as well. Tell your friends, tell your colleagues, tell your enemies, because we want as many people in here as possible. Download and subscribe to the Pod Maverick podcast wherever you get your shows. Play this one again tomorrow so you can listen to it again because it's just filled with such a good time. I really appreciate you all, and we will talk soon. Go Mavericks!